Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Today, we're going to be talking about something that's, well, it's been on everyone's minds
It
lately.
has been a hot minute.
It really has.
Yeah.
We're going to be looking at remote work,
Yeah.
but more specifically, we're going to be looking at a recent report from Robert Half that really kind of digs into this whole debate about, you know, the changing dynamics of work, expectations about salary,
Right.
what companies are doing to attract and keep
Absolutely.
good employees.
Retain talent. Yeah. Retain talent.
It's a big one.
Yes.
Especially in today's market.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe forget the ping pong tables.
Right.
And the free snacks because
Forget the beer on tap.
the beer on tap. Yeah, that's right.
Kombucha, whatever it is.
The kombucha. Yeah. Maybe what's going to keep you at your company is a fatter paycheck.
Right. A little bit more money in your pocket.
That's what it's looking like.
Yeah.
At least from this report.
Yeah. So this Robert Half report really kind of digs into this idea of a 20% pay bump.
Okay.
And it says that a significant portion, now get this.
78%. Nearly 8 out of 10.
Wow.
Tech managers.
Okay.
They're willing to offer these higher starting salaries for in-office roles.
Interesting.
Isn't that something?
So to get people back in the office?
To get people back in the office.
Yeah.
So, we went through this period where remote work was kind of
The norm.
the norm, right? It was normalized.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now it seems like companies are really trying to, lure is maybe too
Strong a word, entice. What would you say?
entice. I think it's appropriate, yeah.
Entice people back.
Tempt.
Tempt them back.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and they're using this higher pay as a strategy,
Well, it's the age-old.
you know?
It's the age-old tragedy.
Yeah, the carrot on a stick, right?
That's right. It's always been money, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's how we're all here.
that's how we're all here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just about the money, or is it?
I mean, what else are people looking for? Because this report also kind of digs into this idea of a well-rounded package.
Sure.
Like, what's going to keep you at a company?
Yeah, I mean, so we're looking at, things like health insurance, right? That's always huge.
Of course.
Paid time off.
Right.
Thinking about retirement plans. Those are all,
Right. Right.
really important. And those haven't gone anywhere. But I think what's really interesting is this idea of flexibility.
Like, flexibility is king.
Right.
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 Flexible work schedule, being able to work remotely,
Right.
wellness benefits. These are all things that are associated with.
Not necessarily being in the office.
Right. And those are the things that are at the top of people's wish lists.
Exactly. So it's this weird kind of,
It's like they want it all.
yeah.
Right.
Is having your cake and eating it too?
Yeah. And honestly, who can blame them?
I know, right?
But it does seem like there's this sort of compromise.
It's kind of bubbling to the surface, this idea of the
Yeah.
3-day compromise.
Okay.
Right.
I like that.
3 days in the office.
2 days remote,
Right. So hybrid.
hybrid.
Yeah.
The report points to this as a growing trend, especially in tech.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's interesting, right? Because it kind of shows that both sides are sort of,
They're listening.
they're listening.
Right.
They're recognizing the other side of the coin.
I think companies probably see the benefit of having people in person for collaboration,
Sure.
for certain tasks, for certain projects.
Right.
But then, employees are really, they've gotten used to, right? This autonomy, this flexibility of working from home,
Right. And I think there are a lot of studies that show,
that productivity
Yeah.
either stayed the same or increased,
at least, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
remote work times.
for sure. So, yeah. So it's finding that balance.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how different companies are approaching this.
It is. We can't talk about return to office policies without mentioning a certain company.
That's been in the news.
Right.
Amazon.
Right.
They made headlines with this whole push to have their employees return to the office at least 3 days a week.
Yeah, like pre-pandemic
Yeah.
office presence.
And what I thought was really interesting,
is that, and this is different from some of the companies that are highlighted in this report.
there's no mention of any kind of increased compensation
Right.
to kind of help employees make this shift.
Interesting, yeah.
That's a bold move, right?
Yeah, especially given that employees are saying like,
Hey, the thing we want the most is flexibility. And other companies are saying, okay, well, we'll give you money.
right, we'll give you more money.
Come back to the office. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
It makes you wonder, is money really enough?
Right.
Or is it really more about having that autonomy over your schedule, that work-life balance, being able to maybe take your kids to school or go to an appointment in the middle of the day?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
I mean, all of those things factor in.
Right. And it makes you wonder, what about What about those who don't have the option to work remotely?
That's a really good point.
Really good point.
That's a really good point, yeah.
Are we moving towards this two-tiered system?
Where,
Actually,
if you can work remotely, great. You can maybe demand a higher salary.
right. You have more bargaining power.
More bargaining power, but if you're in a job or an industry where you can't work remotely,
Right.
are you going to be left
And
behind?
you can be financially penalized for that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, and how this is all going to play out. I mean, will this salary trend,
Kind of bleed into other industries beyond tech.
yeah, who knows, right?
Right.
This could be the tip of the iceberg.
The tip of the iceberg. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, are we going to get to a point where, you walk into your boss's office and say, hey, I want a raise. And your boss says, okay, well, come to the office 5 days a week
Right, right.
and we'll talk.
And then we'll talk.
Right.
Yeah, or we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
It's really uncharted territory.
It's uncharted. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think? What are your final thoughts on this? I mean, this is something that I think everyone listening should really...
Be thinking about.
Absolutely. And I think it's a conversation, right? Like, we're having this conversation. I think people need to be having this conversation with their employers.
Maybe our employers.
With their colleagues.
Right.
If this is something that is important to you, if flexibility is something that you value,
Yeah.
if you're noticing a disparity in, compensation.
Right.
These are conversations that I think are really, really important to have.
Right. And to be aware of.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to continue to evolve.
Right. And who knows what the future holds, but
It's something we need to pay attention to.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well said.
Thank you.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Really appreciate your insights on this.
Of course, happy to be here.
And until next time,
See ya.
thanks for listening.